If you've raised a child in Vermont, you no doubt know the name Dr. Lewis First, pediatrician and Vermont institution. Before he hangs up his stethoscope, we're hearing stories and saying thank you today on Across the Fence. Hello, Vermont. Usually, I start this show by framing the conversation we're about to have, but today's guest has a rather long bio, and this show is all about him. So let's get right to it. I am joined today by Dr. Lewis First, who is retiring today, June 30th, after 32 years as a leader for children's health in our region. Familiar to many of you from his First with Kids media segments, providing practical, evidence-based advice on kids, health, and wellness. At UVM, we know him as the Chair of Pediatrics of UVM's Larner College of Medicine, incidentally, the longest-serving Pediatrics Chair in the nation, and also as the Chief of Pediatrics of UVM's Golisano Children's Hospital. His admirers are many and his impact runs deep. Dr. Lewis First, welcome to Across the Fence.
Amy, it is a pleasure to be here.
It is really great to have you here. Two more things I didn't mention. You've also been the Senior Associate Dean for Medical Education at Larner, and for 16 years, you were the Editor-in-Chief of Pediatrics, the Journal of the American Academy of Pediatrics. I wanted to be sure that I got all of these things in because they all intersect and are an important part of your story and everything that you've been able to do for kids here in Vermont, but also I didn't want to didn't want to take up the whole first 5 minutes of the show introducing you, so welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, and so question, have you slept at all in the last 32 years?
I sleep like a baby, a baby who gets good sleep, but I guess it's more about the quality of my sleep as opposed to the quantity of my sleep. But after I retire, I think we're going to work on the quantity of sleep too.
Quantity of sleep is a good idea. So let's go back. Did you always know you wanted to be a pediatrician?
No. I come from a long line of obstetricians. My father was an obstetrician.
Okay.
His brother, my great uncle, who delivered me. At 13 back in the day, my father got permission from a patient for me to go to my first delivery, and I passed out. At 14, I passed out. At 15, I passed out. At 16, he took me to something called a cesarean section. I was reading Caesar in school, and I didn't understand what that had to do with Shakespeare. I passed out. And he turned to my brother, who was 3 years younger, and said, maybe you can be a doctor. But I really, really admired the passion my father had for caring for his patients and the science. And he didn't know this, but at 16 I volunteered in a trauma unit in Philadelphia and explained my problem about sea legs. But not only did I get my sea legs, I didn't lose my compassion, but I began to understand disparities in health and what led to trauma and what can we do to prevent that. And that set an advocacy piece for me that has been unchanging. Pediatrics was my last rotation in medical school. I thought I was going to be a surgeon or a trauma surgeon or an internist. But when I saw the ability to go upstream, meaning before a problem has occurred, can you work with a family and prevent that problem from occurring as people become adults? I loved that. And I found the science from birth or even prenatally to young adulthood always fascinating. And so the bells went off and pediatrics became my specialty.
Well, and obviously it was the right call. Okay, and so here in Vermont, so you're instantly recognizable to many Vermonters who know you from your media appearances, but it also isn't that. You, and then for that matter, your team are very involved in the community. You're at Little League games. You are, you're at parades and sporting events. And that's something that you've also encouraged the young doctors that you've been working with and your whole team to do. Why was it so important for you to be accessible?
Well, first of all, visibility is credibility. Second of all, I didn't grow up here. And so to be able to say to a family what I think they need is very different from what they know they need. And so being real, being human, and being in this community, in fact, I ask everybody at our children's hospital to make a difference in their communities and be out there. We're a children's hospital within a hospital. We finally got a little bit of signage a couple of years ago that says we're in there, but yet we're one of the most recognizable brands for healthcare in this state because we are in your communities, making a difference. Nobody knows that I was the editor of a national journal for 16 years, and I don't walk around and say that, but we can talk about that because it made sure that we're taking care of our kids with state-of-the-art care. But it's also important to be the safety officer for the Burlington Little League or an announcer at girls' ice hockey games, or to be out and about in the community so I can sit on the bleachers, not as a pediatrician, but as a dad, now as a grandfather, and have families say, we see you all the time, and you're accessible and you're approachable, and it builds trust and it builds credibility and it builds a culture of collaboration where anybody who wants to learn or be a part of our children's hospital family can do that. It's not about your physician degree, it's about your passion of caring for kids.
Yeah. Well, so you mentioned how you're not from here, you grew up in Philadelphia, you had been in Boston, and you were rather recruited to come to Golisano, or to the Children's Hospital. So tell us a little bit about that story about ending up in Vermont in 1994.
Well, I was very happy in Boston, and I thought I was going to be there forever. And it turns out that Dr. Jerry Lucy, who was the second faculty member hired in this department back in the 1950s, knew that we needed another department chair, and he called my chair in Boston, who said, I know somebody, he's pretty junior, but he'd be different. And they put my name in the hat without telling me. They sent my CV here without telling me. And then I got called about, would I be interested in being the chief of pediatrics? And I said, no. I don't know anything about Vermont. I said no 3 times. They then called back and said, we've cut to 25 candidates. And I said, wait, I said no. They said, well, we're coming to Boston to interview some. Can you come down and just meet us? And I explained I had to take my kids to the playground at 9 o'clock on a Saturday morning. They said, you'll come before that, right? And I went and interviewed, and subsequently, they said, we're not sure, you're so different from the other candidates. They invited me to Vermont to interview, and I had 61 interviews, all kinds. But in the course of those interviews, Amy, I sensed a passion, not just in the people talking to me, but in the communities, in schools, walking down, people taking care of their kids. And it was a, we can do this attitude, that instead of saying, well, let's just send them to the specialist, this is us.
Yeah.
And I said, what a phenomenal group of people caring for kids. And that passion, combined with the fact that my wife showed me a list of places she wanted to move if we ever left Boston, at the top of the list was Vermont, upstate New York. And I said, wow.
It's like she knew before you knew.
She knew, and so we came here. And it's interesting, I wasn't expecting it, to see that passion. Mr. Golisano, who's a philanthropist and a business person, he found us to give us a transformational gift over the past year, not because we applied to get some funding, but he saw that culture of collaboration. He saw the family-centeredness. He saw our attention to safety and quality. And out of hospitals all up and down the East Coast, he chose 6 of us at that time, out of 15, to be the recipient of a transformational gift that allows us to build programs that those people on the bleachers said, we really need this.
And that are so important to the state, you know, by virtue of being the Children's Hospital for the state. So, I mean, and let's talk about that, because, so Boston Children's Hospital, that's an entirely different world than Vermont. What has it been like creating this kind of a healthcare system for a rural state?
I think, again, this is, when you say for a rural state, it's a blessing. Okay, I love the fact that I don't get so ensconced in the administrative work of running a department that I don't remember who we do this for. I can't be a pediatrician. I love the fact that while we're in a rural state, everybody knows our name. That we can. That's an accountability. That if I'm in a grocery store, and people know I'm responsible with everybody here to care for our children. We own this, and instead of saying somebody else will do it, this is ours, and I love that. But I also, when I came here, said I want to be able to make sure that the kids in the state, we may be rural, but that's again a benefit. How can we show Boston or any other city that what we do is just as good, if not better, and get it right for our kids, and then show it to the rest of the world?
And there's been some great accolades from that too. I mean, like you were talking about perinatal care.
Yeah.
I mean,
we talk about being an people say, why are we an academic medical center? Here's a great example. 1,400 neonatal intensive care units send their data to us every day, so that the babies that are born here learn from 1,400 other hospitals that we study, and then we can apply that to your new baby who might be born preterm, who needs state-of-the-art, high-quality, family-centered care with heart. And when you say, do we measure it? Yeah, every year we end up being nationally either first, second, or third healthiest state for children.
That's
okay,
remarkable.
and so when you say a rural state, these are children who need health care, and they don't, you can't say, oh, you're going to Vermont, good luck. If anything, you're going to Vermont. How fortunate are we to have the health system, again, with affordability, with access and high quality, that can make a difference. And being an academic medical center and yet being part of this community doesn't get better than that.
Yep. Another important piece of your legacy is training other doctors, because you are part of the Larner College of Medicine. Talk a little bit about what it's like to help create the next generation of doctors that might hopefully gonna stay here in Vermont.
Well, I think this is also a blessing, because one of the things I've taken great pride in is that we have trained over 32 years, I mean, dozens and dozens of pediatricians. And what has been wonderful is they want to stay here in primary care. We just graduated another class, and every year we put at least one pediatrician into a rural practice, and we put one into a national fellowship in allergy, immunology, pulmonology, to be able to then say, many of them say, I want to come back. So we are, by creating this culture, this is a sustainability pathway so that future generations, okay, we're putting people in their 20s, 30s, and 40s into these positions who will give us several more decades of making sure that the kids in this region get the highest quality, state-of-the-art family-centered care possible. And so it starts with teaching and showing them how taking care of kids can make a difference. To me, teaching is the highest form of learning. And I'll make two other points. I want students to understand that when you teach, you learn at the same time. I have learned so much from all of you viewers. I have learned so much from what you have taught me about your families and what you need to make me a better teacher collaboratively and make families a better teacher. We have 45 families that are integrated into what we do at our children's hospital. They are our teachers. So this isn't that I'm the doctor and you're not. It's a we that really makes that difference. So the teaching piece is critical. And the other piece is I love even with kids, when I'm walking down the street, people will teach back and say, look, I've got the right helmet on my child's head, okay? And it's not because I told them that in the office, I may have, but they're watching and they're learning, and every different way we can get families to learn and teach us is what's going to keep this community healthy.
Yeah. Well, I feel incredibly fortunate that I have the opportunity to be a person who, on behalf of UVM and on behalf of Vermont, gets a chance to say thank you for taking such good care of our kids and for helping to build a culture of health for children in the state of Vermont. It's one of the most wonderful things about raising a family here is having that sense of security about what healthcare for your child is going to look like. It's the thing that all parents need, want, aspire to, and you've been a really important part of bringing that to Vermont. So
well, you're using the you, but I'm going to push back. It's a we.
It's a
and
we.
It really is
all
a
right.
culture of collaboration and a culture of caring that has made the difference. We've been a pediatrics department for 76 years, and here's to many, many more. And my successor, Dr. Judy Schechter,
she's going to be
stand by,
fantastic.
she's going to be fantastic.
We're going to bring her on the show soon. So, Doctor, first, thank you so much for joining me today. Happy retirement.
Thank you. Thank you, Amy.
And as always, thank you, Vermont, for learning and exploring with me today, and thanks to the team that makes Across the Fence possible. I'm Amy Finley. This is Across the Fence. Come back and let's learn and explore again tomorrow.